Coming at you from the 245 Trioxin Studios, this is Return of the Living Podcast.
This episode of Return of the Living Podcast is brought to you by Haunt Nation Magazine. Haunt Nation is a free website for Halloween and horror addicts covering prop how-tos, SFX makeup tips, pro and home haunted attraction reviews, exciting contests, conventions, exclusive member downloads, and much, much more. And it's free. Just go to www.hauntnationmag.com. And welcome, everyone, to another episode of Return of the Living Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Jared Howell.
I'm Corey Kirkpatrick.
I'm Brad Bamforth.
And I'm Larry.
Yay!
Hey!
Man, we're filthy. Second week, and we're all wearing the same clothes.
I almost feel like this is sort of like an episode. We're like,
Forgot to change.
I kind of feel like this is kind of like Cheers now, where Larry's just
Everybody
our
knows
norm.
your name?
Larry's just our norm. When he walks in, everybody just goes Norm,
Yeah.
and now we're just like Larry.
But Norm's an asshole.
Norm is awesome.
And I'm
Meanwhile,
not.
Corey's sitting at the table in the back drinking a beer by himself.
You're not that cool. So,
Damn.
Today's episode,
It's worth a shot.
we are talking...
Brought to you by the letter B.
and Haunt Nation Magazine. Ring! Oh! Product placement, Haunt Nation Magazine.
And the letter B.
And the letter B.
B, you owe us money.
B is for bitches.
Hey, bitches do owe us money. There we go.
Anywho,
Bitch better
We're
have
going to
my
be talking
money.
about some character creation. It's my favorite. And other random talk.
and I
but-
feel like Larry's going to make fun of me for something that I really didn't do myself.
I'm really glad you reminded me of that because I fucking forgot. I don't even have that page open anymore, do I? I don't.
But we're just getting revved up for Trans World in a month now. A little over
just about a month. Yep.
So we're starting to bring in some more hot topics. Just gearing up for Trans World, and
Take a
things
shot
like
every
that.
time Jared says gearing up for Trans World.
I was just going to say, we're gearing up like real
Way
early.
Yeah, we are. Well, we've got a lot of work to do,
We do have a shit ton to do.
so it's not that weird. It's just like
But we don't
ready.
necessarily have to remind them
Gearing
of
up
that
for
every week
Trans
because they're
World?
probably just doing their daily.
I hope somebody's
do.
really taking shots.
I do too.
I'm just
I lied, actually. Every
If-
time Jared says gearing up for trans,
Josh Turner,
Shot.
I know you listen. Shot. Every time. Let us know each episode.
I
Don't-
wouldn't really
don't
call him a
drive.
competitor podcast, but I saw on I was searching Tumblr ages ago for haunt related topics, and somebody was like this other. I'll leave them unnamed. but another-
female characters in haunts.
There's a
that
lot
was
of
a
that.
great episode. I'm sorry, I liked it.
But no, there was a somebody posted a MP3 of one of our fellow haunt podcasters shows, and they were like, take a shot every time they say
I feel like we could do that with like.
Yeah, probably.
I'm bad with like. You do the ums.
Jared is all about that like though.
And gearing. I'm gearing up
I do a lot of double
for
takes.
psych.
And then you can probably mine's just
and
anyway, character creations.
character creations, we're talking that, and
We're just jumping right in.
Yeah, we
well,
are.
all right.
All right, Brad. Well, let's reiterate what we said last week to bring us to wanting to talk about character creation this
All right,
week.
okay. We're all in a bunch of haunt groups on Facebook. Somebody posted a picture. The poor kid looked like he was maybe, of course he was wearing a mask, but he looked like maybe he was 12, 13 years old, in a hockey mask with a bloody apron and a chainsaw.
Well,
and
he was trying his best, though.
and the big debate was, should characters like that be in a haunt?
Yes.
And because
It's like a fanfic horror character.
should they or should they not be? Because you're playing, you have
Except he's not butt fucking forever.
you have the Jason hockey mask, but you have a chainsaw and an apron, so that's obviously
This
a
is
Leatherface.
my take on it. Yes. Asterisk. The asterisk is are they at an original haunt, and is this his quote unquote original character? If the answer is yes to that, then fuck no. If they're at a haunt that's low budget, that maybe he's trying to do tongue in cheek in the movies, but they don't really want to go that far, fucking every time you see a hockey mask, the first thing that's gonna pop into mind is Jason. First thing that's gonna pop into mind is Leatherface with a chainsaw. I don't see a bad to it unless they're at a haunt where it's like, here's my original creation. No, it's fucking not.
Well, there were a bunch of elitists on this post that were posting comments, and one of them, I don't remember his name, and even if I did, I wouldn't mention it. But
Stinky Dave.
he was like,
I'm the best at haunts.
he was like, have original characters or don't do a haunted house. And then it was like, then he posted a separate topic with a picture
I
of
haunt good.
a picture of a bunch of masks. And he's like,
My
okay,
other
okay.
car's a haunted house.
That one's great. That's one. Nobody take that. We're using that as one of our stickers. Fuck off.
Well, he posted another topic that was a picture of a bunch of his masks. I was like, okay, all original characters, let's see them.
Fuck that guy.
And of course, it had a bunch of original characters, and it was. I kind of felt like he was trashing this one particular individual in a picture without knowing anything about the context.
If you're happening to listen to this, dude, there's one for you. Okay. Not everyone has the creative prowess to be able to be like, I'm going to create this custom-made mask and this character from the ground up, and it's going to be my thing. You know, God bless. If he really is a 12-year-old kid, maybe, you know, God forbid he's got something wrong with him or something.
Maybe it's just a family home haunt.
Right. Like, who the fuck cares? If you're having fun doing haunts and you're not bad-mouthing people that don't need to be bad-mouthed, who the fuck cares? Now, should you have a original creation? Yes.
I just feel bad because that kid's gonna find that when he turns old enough to be on Facebook and then off himself. Like, and
I will say, on that topic specifically, every haunt starts out somewhere. Say you started out in a garage. You're going to have cobwebs you bought at Walmart. Everybody starts there.
That's my garage right now.
I borrow his stuff so I can make a haunted house scary, or a haunted house scary, elementary school scary every year.
Everybody starts somewhere, and they all grow and mature. When you start and you have, say, a limited budget, and you need to, I'm going to word this very carefully, you need to scare the largest amount of people you can and get the best bang for your buck. You're going to take the easy route, which is Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, let's see, I always forget one of them.
Michael Myers?
Yeah, because apparently he's scary. But you're going to take the easy route. Those are easy to buy. You can find those masks anywhere.
Real fast on that topic, let me talk about another one we were talking about last show, okay? Go back to last show. Listen, we talked about him. You'll know which one I'm talking about. Fear Fair. Freddy Krueger, $500 silicone pullover mask. Looked like Freddy. Brilliant.
Yeah.
This haunt, $25 horror novelty mask. And they were charging $30 to go through.
Well, and where I was going with that is that they just you start somewhere, you take the easy scares, you get the most impact out of your dollar so that your customers get the most impact out of their dollar. And that makes sense, and you progress. And maybe next year he gets a better chainsaw and maybe a better themed mask where it's maybe a crazy hillbilly, or maybe a more authentic Jason mask with like the crack in it and is weathered better or something like that. And then maybe that next year he's like, I'm kind of bored doing that. I don't want to wear a hockey mask anymore. And he gets himself a mask that, even if it's just an SPFX mask or SFX, what's the?
There's SPFX, CFX, real skin,
a silicone mask from one of the,
Immortal.
abundance of distributors
Crooked
now.
Creations.
Crooked Creations. Maybe he picks up one of those, and maybe it's not, maybe it's one that they sell to everybody, but it's still, if you're going through that hunt, you've probably never seen that mask before if you're a typical mask goer. So he's still got the bloody apron and the chainsaw, whatever. Well, then maybe the next year, the bloody apron he replaces with something that, he puts together himself. He's maturing as the haunt's maturing, and it picks up, and those easy-to-do things just kind of drop off. They fade away, and then you move into the custom characters. And that's why when we travel and when we go to haunts, the characters that stick out are the custom characters that have been haunting for probably 10-plus years, if not more. And they're the ones that have the knowledge and the ability and the skill and all of that to make those. So I think it's completely forgivable.
Let me use you as an example. When Fear Fair goes out, you don't see Mute Skidda out there front and center going, I'm from Fear Fair.
Mm-hmm.
They brought out Jason. They brought out Michael Myers, Pyramid Heads, or Silent Hill Nurses. They brought out those things that when you see them, you just go, holy fuck, oh my God, that's cool.
Or
Because
I know what that is.
Yeah, because you want an impactful moment in time that will stamp in their head and ingrain your haunt into their mindset, to where when somebody says haunted houses, converse, immediately you're going to say, you know, I went to, or I saw, or I heard about, or I saw this ad, I saw this news clipping, I saw this, who the fuck, news clippings, nobody sees that. You know, a post on Facebook of this really cool pyramid head. Oh, where was it at? I don't know. It was at Fear
I will
or
say
whatever.
this.
There's a reason behind it.
Yeah, my other car's a haunted house guy. Fuck you.
Damn.
And here's why. When I'm at work, it's always we change. My job requires us to change schedules frequency, and I always find myself with a new group of coworkers, and we always have that. Hi, my name's Dave. I've worked here 3 years, and my favorite movie is Over the Top. And
fuck you,
I do
Over the
this
Top
on my
is amazing.
weekend. The only estranged father arm wrestling movie ever fucking made.
Ever.
If you don't have it, go buy it.
Anywho, but the first thing I say is always like, I work at haunted houses. That's my passion. That's what I do. It's always that guy that's like, oh yeah, you guys do like Mike Myers. You guys do Jason. People love that shit. Get off your high horse. Yeah. Like us
now, do you have to have it? No.
Us creative types prefer to not have it because we like the artistic freedom. People like seeing that shit in your haunt. Get off the high horse. If you can do it well, why the fuck not do it? If you've got if you're a haunt in a podunk town with no creative types and all you're going to have is a bunch of fat kids that couldn't create their way out of a bucket, your best bet is probably to go with movie characters. It's easy. They can quote lines from a movie, and it's hard to really, well, I say this loosely, it's hard to really fuck up. It can be fucked up, but
thankfully 3 of those characters don't fucking talk.
It's easy to wing your way out of, would be a better way to say it.
And even from there, you can evolve, like Larry was talking about, is this year Fear Fair, they're going a more original route and getting rid of a bunch of those movie characters. So they've been known for years and years. Oh my God, here's the thing, and now they're like, we're bored, we're done, let's move on.
Let's even like starting out in haunting. Corey and I started at a haunt. Well, not Corey, but I started at a haunt that was create your own character, go have fun. Mm-hmm. And for us, that was like, how can other haunts do that? Fuck movie haunts. Mm-hmm. And as we got into the business, we realized, whatever, it's not that big of a deal.
There's different niches for different people.
That's something also I wanted to mention real quick. The are we passing notes? Oh, the that was Baxter, right?
Yeah.
That you were talking about if there were one haunt, it would only be so good. The fact that haunts get better, I think, is partly because of other haunts, and Baxter is a necessary haunt because it breeds creative people, and you grow out of Baxter and you move to other haunts and you take what you learned there. Baxter was a really good learning experience, I think, for you that made you a stronger haunter faster than had you jumped straight into a big name.
I will say too, like if you happen to stumble across our show and this is your first time listening, you're new to haunting, get out of your zone, because that's the thing. I worked my way. I started at Baxter. Baxter, the only haunt I ever really went through until we took kind of a year off. I started going to other haunts, and even then, the way I was bred at Baxter for haunting was fuck other haunts. They're all out to sabotage us. Don't go to other haunts. Your friends went and taught a class at this haunt. Fuck them. All this stuff where you're tied down. Fear Fair. But it's
fuck you.
But it's one of the. We'll get into the more creation stuff soon. We just in an open topic, I guess. But it's when we worked our way up to being directors there, that my drive, like I first met Brett and I first met other haunters, and learning that not everybody's out to get you. Yeah. I was like, I want to go to the trade show. I want to see what this is about. And my first year going to any trade show was the director of the morgue at Midwest Haunters Convention. I took a handful of actors with us. Brad met us up there, and we just went and looked and met people and talked to people.
And they're all cool as fuck.
And everybody's cool as fuck. Everybody gets along, and you can learn a lot from these people. And it's a sponge even, I mean, just everybody. And then to talk to people, too. Like, we talk a lot of shit, so I'm trying to give Baxter some redeeming qualities. But even, like, we did an interview during first season where Bud from Dent talked to us about Baxter being kind of one of their inspirations.
Oh,
and,
Bud Strauss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and hearing that was just like I came from someplace that had a background.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot of shit.
And Bud's
but-
a really big name. I mean,
Yeah.
his haunt is really up there. So that's
So-
actually a pretty good thing to hear.
Good getting out there, I was like, wow, I came from someplace cool,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to bring that back and incorporate it. And that's where a little autobiography. That's where all the bad blood came from, is because I was like, these people are nice.
Not
these
just him,
people are
me
for
too.
us.
Yeah.
Like we
And-
fought and we fought and fought with that owner.
And that's why we're not there anymore, and that's why they've got half a haunted house left, and they're probably going out of business soon.
Yeah.
So be open-minded and deal with it. So, but I'm being told you're doing the notes like we're not on camera.
Yeah.
But we've
Well-
got to take a break. So
In 5 minutes.
in 5 minutes.
Oh, in 5 minutes. Okay, cool. We've got time.
But now 10 seconds less for you to say
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that all goes back to douche hat McGee. That's all like, no, fuck you. Here's my silicone mask or my custom mask for all my characters. It's there's always
Not everybody
being
has
nice,
$3,000 to drop on
being
6
being
custom
nicer
masks.
to one another, especially in this industry, is going to get you a lot further. Because I'm just going to name drop one name that doesn't have to help a single fucking person out. He's the nicest fucking person on the goddamn planet, and will help anyone that asks, and that is fucking Alan Hops. He does not have to help a single fucking person, ever. But he posts free fucking YouTube tutorials about how to build crazy
Yeah.
shit. And he goes to trade shows, and he's like, "Look, I'm here. You can walk up to him anytime and just talk to him, and he's there. He doesn't have to. He could be a dick and just be like, this is my shit. Fuck off." But he's so fucking nice about it. And when you really get down into this industry, there's so many people like that it's really like heartwarming when you go to someplace like a Haunt Con or a Trans World or an MHC, and you see all of that camaraderie ship and like just talking. And that first time somebody comes up to you when you're in costume or something like that, and goes, "Oh man, what did you use?"
I mean, there still is
Yeah.
like some competitive factors. I'll call Brett out a little bit. I remember that year at MHC, I was with Teddy, who's one of my friends that got in trouble for teaching a seminar at Fear
Yeah.
Fair. But we were
Yeah.
there, and we're on the party bus, and Brett, dressed like a pimp or whatever he was that year,
Oh, God.
walks up to me, and he's like, "What do you think of Baxter now?" And like, I was like, "I guess I'm working for you next year," like, or whatever. But it was
I want
funny moment in history that
we have a
I remember
presence.
fondly.
Yeah.
I remember fondly of that.
I want-
It always makes me laugh to think back.
I want to know what Larry wants to make fun of me for.
I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
it'll come up after the
So,
break.
Don't be
Yeah,
a
well,
dick to your actors
I want
either,
that to be
because they'll
long.
end up working for nice people like we did.
Well, you were talking about there is a little bit of a competitive nature. It's funny because there's really not actual bad blood. It's a competitive thing of like, yeah, we're better than you. We got this one, we have this big add-on this year, and the next year they come back and say, oh, well, we did this. But it's a friendly competition to be
It's
better.
a
because,
one-upsmanship.
yeah, most of us are so far apart that it would be insane to consider as competition. So it's more of a friendly rivalry that we just like. It breeds us or makes us strive to be better because we see what these other people are doing. So it's a friendly rivalry. There are some isolated incidences of bad blood, which I don't know that I've spoke about, and I probably won't. But there are some isolated instances
Well-
of where there are bad blood, but it all circles around one haunt.
I've got a wealth of knowledge that I've learned from everybody we've become friends with over the years and interviewed, and I really take that to heart. And one of the things that I wouldn't be where I'm at now in haunting, I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have. We wouldn't be on this show if it weren't for your Alan Hopses, your Bud Strauss, Brett Hayes, the people that run these bigger haunts in our area in the Midwest, Fear Fair, Dent. Alan Hops isn't in this area.
Kevin in Hotel.
But Kevin Stitch and Hotel, all these people gave us the courage to do this show, gave us the courage to go, wow, your guys can really act, even though the rest of our haunted house was shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they give you the confidence to do things with yourself. So be nice to people and take it.
I still don't know why I'm here, but that's just me.
It's because you work at a radio station, Brad.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But
You haunted.
I know, not very well.
We'll talk about it after the
I
break.
guess what I'm trying to say, I went on a long enough tangent when we're supposed to be talking about characters. Just be good to each other. We talk a lot of shit, but the people we talk shit about are just assholes.
I actually think that goes into character creation. I'll explain after the break.
Okay. But,
So
yeah.
let's go on break.
Let's go on break. We'll take a break, and we'll come back with the topic at hand. We'll actually dive in a little bit more in depth and maybe even learn you something.
We'll be back right after this.
Combining 3 decades of special effects, haunted house, and production experience, Crooked Creations specializes in masks and special effects. If you are looking for cutting-edge and original masks for your production or haunt, check out crookedcreations.com. Crooked Creations has been featured in dozens of haunted houses and several independent films and productions. Whether it's burlap, silicone, hybrid, or accessories, your one-stop shop is crookedcreations.com. That's crookedcreations.com.
So, welcome back from the break, everybody. This is, again, Return to the Living Podcast. You know that because you're listening to the show. And I just have to say that, I don't have to say anything, but I want to say we're sponsored by Haunt Nation Magazine. Check them out at
10,000 subscribers, and it's free, so.
Party.
That's right.
What?
HauntNationMag.com.
So, but back to the topic at hand, we're talking character creation if you're just joining us, meaning you skipped to the halfway mark in the show for some point. And you knew exactly where
maybe
it was.
your mouse, you accidentally clicked your mouse while it was on screen. You didn't realize it.
And you're lazy and you don't want to get back up and go change. I don't know.
Or switch over from the porn you're watching
Do people do that? Just watch porn?
and listen to
There's
us.
a bar in Chicago that has porn and chicken on Mondays.
What?
They just play porn on the TVs. They play it all the time. I think it's the Risque Cafe. I don't know if it's still open.
Can
they
we go
play
to Chicago?
porn on all the TVs all the time, and then they have porn and chicken Monday nights.
Does that mean like I get like cheap chicken wings while I watch my porn?
I guess, yeah.
Awesome. Game
It's
on.
all vintage porn, so there's Bush.
Oh, game on.
So
More Bush, the better, I
character
say.
creation. We talked a little bit about it, but just to recap the last part, we were just talking about how just don't shit on people with bad characters. Pointing out their good qualities is going to make somebody better, as opposed to talking shit about someone. And that's something from a directorial standpoint too. When you've got people that are trying to create characters in your haunt, you kind of want to push them at a point where they're doing something they're good at. For me, I had a lot of theater experience, so I tend to get pushed into roles that have a lot of talking parts or more theatrical roles. Or I like to do Q line because you can interact with people, and I've got pretty good quick wit retort. So it's one of those things that you want to push people to where they're good at. Sometimes they may not like it and may not be receptive, but you got to try. Like, I had a girl that liked to be more of an aggressive role, but when she really came out of it, she was a great victim character. And where I'd be like, you're really good at being a victim. We should put you in this role. And she didn't really want to take to it, but there's another girl that was quiet as can be, super shy, couldn't get her to talk to anything. And we used to try and put her in victim roles all the time. And during our training classes one year, we just kind of, Corey and I used to like to place people in random rooms. And we'd be like, you guys are going to be here, come up with something. We're going to walk through like it's open night.
And we're expecting, okay, we're going to come around the corner and she's going to be on the gurney. And
She was smothering this bitch with a pillow. Like, it was pretty intense.
like balls to the wall yelling.
Yeah, like freaking out. And we're like, okay, we've been using you wrong.
And then as
the
soon
whole
as we came
time.
around, we're like, where the hell was that at? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, what?
But there are. What? So try and push your people to what they're good at when they're creating characters. But I'm a firm believer if you have an original haunted house, character creation is key for anybody who's building a character in your haunt, whether their background story is known or not, because it gives them something to latch onto. It gives them a stepping stone to really dive into their character.
No, I agree so heartily. I mean, something as simple as like maybe part of their background character they come up with. It's like, okay, you were a war vet. All right, well, maybe they were wounded in a war. Maybe they stepped with a limp. That's going to separate, if they're limping towards you, that's going to separate them from somebody running at you. I mean, just something as small as that, or maybe the like, I go to Nightmare on Elm Street all the time. Robert Englund talked about the glove was kind of a weight on his hand, so he kind of used it as a gunslinger. So he dropped his shoulder down, and he, you know, that first iconic scene of Freddy in the shadows, he's got that shoulder down, and it's just this like old rugged, almost like you expect to be like Clint Eastwood walking out, John Wayne, and it's iconic, and it was just something like that in his head was just like, I thought he might do that, and it just stuck, and it's that iconic pose.
I really like. I wouldn't say I method act at all. It's hard to do at a haunted house, but once I'm in character, I'm in character. That's when the ideas start to kind of flow, and you take things from that. You really dive into where is this person coming from, what's their upbringing, and things like that, and you stick to it. Corey knows once I'm in character, it's really hard to get me to break character, probably to an annoying fault.
I'll say you and Larry both are that way. Like, you're very much. I mean, we went up to Fear this year, and I'm talking to Larry. He didn't break character the entire time. Like, we're talking about stuff about the haunt, but that character voice is right on key. He's not breaking it. He's not. And I do the same with Jared. I'll be like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" He's like, if he's Barry, he's like, it's a good night. And like, it's just, he's there and he's talking to me, but it's Barry that's talking to me, not Jared. It's mute, not Larry.
Well, and a lot of that comes down to there's people that can hear you. If you ever hear me break character, it's either A, because I'm about to knock the shit out of somebody, or B, I have a security issue to deal with where I'm talking to one of the staff, and I will always face away from the crowd to where nobody can see my mouth moving, and I'll just quietly say something, and that way I don't have to like yell it at them or sound like an idiot. I say it and then I go on about my business.
A little less discreet. I usually I'll whisper, like get up in somebody's ear or something, but it's it gives you the ability to do that and to really dive into your character. So I would recommend character creation and doing that. Character creation is something we try and touch on when we teach like scare tactics classes and things like that, to try and help with development. And there's different improv games you can play too, to help with that, like Dinner Party or Taxi or any of those things.
Taxi's a fun one. I really like Taxi.
So
I think a good one that's always looked under the bus too is like Scenes from a Hat. Like, you give them a story to play out for everyone.
The Who's Line game?
Yeah, exactly. You give them a story to play out for everyone, because like if they're like Larry here and it's like, oh, you're gonna be a Harlem prostitute, then he's gonna be like, okay, I got that easy. But if I'm like, you have to be a tattered war vet, he'd be like,
Those are really challenging. I remember the first time I was really challenged with acting was my high school theater teacher was doing a thing, and everybody would have to go through it. We'd sit in a chair, and she'd give us a scenario, and she was like, "You're a plane crash survivor. The scene is the plane has crashed. You don't know what's happened, but you wake up alive. You're buried in rubble. The scene, go. You're by yourself." And I was just like, what the fuck do I do? Like, having to go to that place without a backstory, without anything, like, is just really hard to do. So I had to take probably like 5 to 10 minutes to be like, okay, was I an architect? What does my wife hate me? Like, where am I coming from?
Am I having an affair?
Am I a hateful bastard? Where, like, why would I say this? Why would I do that? It's so you really taking the extra time in advance to do that will give you better characters. Sometimes it's fun too to just come up with stuff on the whim. Like, I've got a really fun character I created for the morgue named Barry, who was quite popular around those parts. But it started out, I was like, I want to do something kind of different and monstery. I was the only person there that liked to use latex like prosthetics. Mm-hmm. So I got a just your like whatever like Nosferatu prosthetic. And our good friend Dean, Eel Fire Lizard, sock masked it for me so I could get in and out because I was directing still. But it just came up to, like, I had the idea, like, what if he was, like, Nosferatu's, like, long distant cousin?
That happened to move to New York.
Yeah, and our friend...
Right. I forgot Barry had a New York accent.
Yeah, our friend John
was
like...
Well, I think that was actually, like, accident because like, he was like, oh, I don't know what to wear, and he was wearing his leather jacket, and I was like...
No, it was... what happened was John was, like... I was just trying out stuff, and our friend John was like... I was like, I don't know what to name him, though. Like, what kind of... And his name... I can't remember the last part of it because I've never used it since then, but he gave him the name of Baron von something or other. And I was like, Baron, Barry. Like, it just hit like that, like in my head. Yeah. So from then I was like, okay, Nosferatu, long lost cousin, lives in New York. Where can I go with this? And then through like a string of events, I got the idea. He's from New York. Ninja Turtles. He's a giant fruit. He's a giant bat. Ninja Turtles. He doesn't hate people. He doesn't want to scare people. He wants to be with the people. So the shtick with that was Q Entertainment. I'd hobble up to people all scary. They would scream. I would scream. We'd start conversation. Yeah. And I would just be a normal guy. And then it was just like,
I'll never forget the day that he started quizzing the St. X people that came through.
Well, they're just a bunch of dumb college, like high school students. I guess you brought it up. Where I was doing line entertainment, and somebody was like, "What are you?" And I was like, "I'm a bat." And she's like, "What kind of bat?" I was like, "A fruit bat." And she's like, "What's a fruit bat?" And I was like, "Holy shit, how dumb are you?" And so like I pulled out my phone, and I was like, "Fruit bat."
Barry
and then I was reading through, and I was like, "They changed my name. I'm a mega bat." Like,
so I come outside and I'm like, "Hey Barry, how are you doing?" He's like, "I found out I'm a mega back." He's like, "Mega powers, Hulk Hogan."
I started doing like Macho Man impersonations as Barry. It just went out there. But then I started taking tickets, so like I'd start quizzing the high school students, and somebody was all like, "You're short," and I'd be like, "You're short," like, and then I was like, "Napoleon was short," and they're like, "Who's Napoleon?" And I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
And I was like, "You don't know who Napoleon is?" And some kid was like, "The guy that did the Louisiana Purchase." And I was like, "That's right, but fuck, like,
Yeah.
that's what you remember him from." Like, all right,
If
so,
that's like the most notable thing.
but
Okay.
doing stuff like that in character is just a blast. Like once you get to that point, that's totally a throwaway character. I could never do him anything else.
Yeah.
I did him at Fear Fair for a night. That was that Mask's last go.
Yeah.
But definitely fun to do just once again. But there are other characters you can dive more in. Brad knows
I know what.
about character creation.
Yeah, let's go ahead and cover
The feral
the
freak.
Feral Freak
Hey.
2.0.
Hey, I didn't so much create the character as it was passed down to me.
Tell us a little bit about the
Was
Feral
it a
Freak.
sci-fi sequel?
No.
Well,
Well,
So why did it have to be
I'll help Brad out. The morgue was where we got all our character creation chops at, because again, it was one of those places, create what you want and go for it.
Mhm.
And that's another thing. Character creation gives people a chance to really get involved with anything at the haunt. That's how we got so deep into it. We created characters that stuck. But Luke, who's been on the show before, played the main character of Warren Vanderdark, who was a mortician in Old Louisville and like the Butchertown area. And one day business stopped, and there were weird, strange smells and things happening down at the old Baxter Avenue morgue from that point. And it was his weird experiments with his family and other things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And all the characters are built off of that. People that were brought in from other places, or did things, or experiments from Warren and things like that. And I think that's kind of where Brad's feral freak character came in.
Well, here's the thing. Baxter was the first real haunt experience I ever had. And
Feral freak?
I didn't come up with a name. I didn't come
I
up with a name. I went in my first night, and I had created a look that I thought was original. Because I'd never worked in a haunt before. I'd never really done anything with it. I thought I was going to be doing something that was different. Turns out what I did with the look that I thought was original, turns out it was really similar to another actor's there. And once I realized that, I went up to him and I was like, "I'm sorry, I did not realize that what I was trying to do was something that's close to what you've done. I can get rid of this entire costume."
It wasn't even really that close.
It was similar.
It was mouth apparatus with tubes hanging out.
Yeah, it was similar, not the same. It was close, but not
Teddy used
exactly.
the respirator, and you used the mouth opener.
Well, when I first started, I had a respirator. But I went up to Teddy and I was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't realize that what I thought I was doing was something close to yours. I will not use this ever again." He's like, "No, go ahead, you're fine." And he watched me from that point on, and I didn't. Of course, I'm new. I didn't know that he was watching me, but I had never seen Teddy act before because we were in different ends of the house.
Yeah.
I was just doing what I wanted to do. Turns out that my acting style and Teddy's acting style are similar.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the looks were similar, but the way we carried ourselves is similar.
Yeah. Well, you're both bigger guys. A lot of it.
Yeah. And
translates.
so I knew going into the second year that I wanted to keep the tube look because it was something that always fascinated me.
Yeah.
So that's the second year is when I went with the mouth spreader, because I knew Teddy had the respirator. And I talked to Teddy extensively over the summer to make sure it was okay with him because I didn't want to do anything that was going to make him mad. And he actually told me that he wished he came up with the mouse spreader idea first because he thought it was cool. And he helped me, because he was somebody I looked up to at that time. And he helped me create something that is different but similar in enough styles that when he got tired of his character, which was the feral freak, he asked me if I would step in because our looks were similar and our styles were similar. And even when I created a backstory for my character, he's like, tie your backstory into mine because our characters are similar. And so that's what I did. So when he walked out, I got handed the feral freak the mantle, but I didn't want to be known as like necessarily the new Teddy.
Yeah.
So that's why I threw 2.0 on the end, because I wanted to make sure there was a little bit of a differentiation between Teddy's feral freak and my feral freak.
I would have called it the sequel.
Well,
like the Blur 2.
Ray's in trouble.
Well, that makes a little more sense.
what were you? Go ahead and tell me what you were thinking.
What do you mean?
You said we'll bring this up at another time. What were your first thoughts when you saw it?
One, you're very skinny from the picture that I saw.
I'm not very skinny. It's just the angle.
It's the angle. You look way tiny.
Here's his good side.
If you didn't tell me it was you, I wouldn't recognize you. Are you bald?
It's a bald cap.
Really?
Yes.
You went through all that?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't just shave your head?
Nope.
Crazy. I'd rather just shave my damn head.
Went through a bald cap.
When was that in the timeline? Because that one you've got the chain.
That was that would have been the 2011 season.
Can we throw these pictures up on the YouTube?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
everybody can see
I'll
what
put
we're
them up
talking
there so
about.
you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, that would have been 2011 season. The 2012 season, my idea, I'll give you my backstory real quick. As Jared said, there was strange sounds and smells coming from the basement of the morgue, the old Baxter Avenue morgue.
Let me see if I can remember. So your story came in when people tried to renovate the old morgue building?
That's where Teddy's came in.
Okay.
Teddy's character was one of the inspectors that went in to get the building ready for condemning. But Teddy was never seen again. And since Teddy wanted me to make a backstory that was along his timeline, I made Teddy the best friend of my character's father. My character's father was his boss. And as a child, my character looked up to Teddy as Uncle. I think his character's name was Ray, so my character called him Uncle Ray. And then when Uncle Ray disappeared, I grew up always wanting to know what happened. So I took a job as an odds and ends painter, kind of a drywall guy, restoration guy, because I got that inspiration because my dad is that. And when the building got bought and renovated for the office space, my character's company won the bid to go and paint the newly renovated upstairs. So while I took the opportunity while on lunch to go snoop around the basement, and then I got attacked and killed. And that's why my character was there. I was trying to find out what happened to his childhood friend.
Pretty basic haunted house murder character story or whatever.
It's not in depth, but it was something that I needed.
I've had some characters with
right now. Everybody that listens to this that has an in-depth backstory is like, this dude is a complete tool.
Well, no, I mean everybody's is gonna sound like hokey and weird.
Stupid.
Mine is actually really, really simple. The whole premise that we had of the Fear Fair is located on an Air Force base, decommissioned Air Force base, if I can say this all right. It was built in World War II, for World War II, and it was decommissioned shortly after, very shortly after. It was literally built just for World War II, and they'd be done with it. But what they did with the base is it was a Air Force base in the middle of Indiana, which obviously does not serve a lot of purpose for a war going on the other side of the world. Obviously, that's dumb to make it fly halfway across the country just to get there. Or get overseas to it. So the purpose of it was for bringing back captured Nazi aircraft and tearing them apart, reverse engineering them, figuring out what they were doing. So we were bringing back all these aircraft, and this is real. This isn't backstory. This is what happened in the airfield base. They'd bring them back, tear them apart, figure out, okay, they're doing this and this and this and this, and just reverse engineer them in general. And
It's so dumb we're not using Nazis in our storyline. Brett, you're listening. I know you listen. It's so I didn't know all this, by the way. I've never paid too much attention to the airfield story, so I'm listening.
It gets better.
Okay.
So we brought back these German planes.
Hitler came there one day.
What?
Gave a speech to
Shit
the
on
elementary school at the entrance.
Jewish
That's right.
Kids. All right, go on.
You said to a bunch of Jewish kids.
Shit on some Jewish kids. Go ahead, Larry. Sorry,
Anyhow,
I'm bad.
So we brought back the planes and reverse engineered them to figure out what was going on with them. Well, at the time, the military was not so good about being green or smart in general or efficient. So instead of like melting down the metal and like reclaiming it, or I don't know, putting pilots in the planes and sending them back or whatever, I don't know. They literally just took them apart and buried the pieces around the field. They would just dig up spots in the airfield and bury parts of planes that they had. So like wings, fuselage, engines.
This
It's all-
really happened.
Yes, this is all real. This is all buried.
Fuck.
There's Nazi aircraft buried underneath the land that we have our haunt on. The building that we are in was built in the 40s as the base was being built. It was an era-specific building to World War II. The whole reason it's there. So that's why we went with the military theme, because it's a military base.
So then, why had the country westerns theme the one year?
I'll get into that. It's a real thing as well. So
Well, goddamn.
I know. But anyhow, so that's where our theme came from, the military theme. And what happened is this
Built
is
off
where
of that.
the storyline starts. We brought back some planes, and we captured Hermann Goering's plane, and he was one of the Nazi scientists and not a good one. So he had this experimental gas that he was trying to make Nazi super soldiers out of, and or with. And we captured the plane, knowing that this was on it. Well, whatever it was not perfected yet. So when we took the plane apart, we fucked up, broke the bottle. The gas gets out, infects everybody, turns us all into monsters. So that's where that's all coming from. That's our storyline. So the base there was a real base. There's real soldiers on it, and that's where all of that comes from. My character is a Q-line character. I was a soldier, but I was a shitty soldier. I was the mop boy. That's literally all I did. I wasn't even allowed to have a gun. So I was just the smart-ass mop boy that had to clean up after people in the barracks there. And when this compound or whatever gas comes out and infects everybody, it infects me too, but it doesn't make me cool. It just makes me dead, and I'm still a smartass. So that's really where my character came from. I mean, it's super simple. I mean, the whole backstory is really long, but from where my individual character came from is super simple, but it gives me stuff to draw on.
On the opposite, I find that interesting because on the opposite end of that, like the Fear Fair start came from real local legends that happened.
Yes.
The morgue, with a well-played storyline, built its own local legend. Like, people are like, is that real? Were you really in a morgue? And at the time, we used to be like, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Whatever. And
We're about to break kayfabe. You ready? It was never a morgue.
it's in the basement of a printing company. But anywho,
No matter how much the people in there
It's-
want to tell you they went to mortuary school there before Waverly or something, I don't
people,
know.
it's to that point where old people that don't really know us would make up like, oh yeah, I used to.
We had one of our makeup artists was like,
people would tell us lies about
when I
this
was
building,
18,
but, yeah.
I went to mortuary school here.
just because we kept up a well-played
Yeah.
storyline. So, and I mean, you can get as simple as that or as traditional as that. I tend to make dumb characters a lot, and that's my thing. Arthur, my most recent character, I kind of built up a really long fucked up storyline for that was more serious. But the more you stay in character around other people, I have this kind of like Clockwork Orange wit thing going on when I'm Arthur, and I use an English accent. And Teddy's new character at the time, he used to tag around me all the time, and he was bigger than me. So we came up with this idea that they're just weird serial killer freaks trying to make their way in America.
Mm-hmm.
So like we had talks of the zombie walk one year being like, get your double down deep fried donut chicken burgers. Like, Americans love this shit. Like, just trying to do weird stuff in character like that. And it just turned into being like, we just fit in at the morgue, so we're here.
Yeah.
Like, no one knows why we're there. We weren't created there. We just showed up and we're like, can sneak one off the end.
Yeah.
Like, that was the idea. Is we can sneak one off the end of this haunted house. So it just turned out to be like really weird and goofy anyway. So you can have fun with it that way, and still be scary. Like I said, that's a queue line perspective. You're gonna want to probably tend to be fucking retarded. Like the tater route.
The whole I'm a slider, a haunt slider. If you don't know what it is, Google it or YouTube it. There's tons of videos about it. I wear
Go
pads.
to a convention. They're very annoying there.
Yeah, they are. We wear knee pads, boots and gloves of tons of different varieties. But we just, as basic as it is, we just run and slide. But it makes a lot of noise.
Sparks.
Yeah, well, it sparks. You put magnesium in them. It's a lot of fun. It's an impact scare. But my character, like you were talking about, Barry, where you walk up and you're scary, and then they scream and then you scream. Mine's kind of the same way. It's all slide and scare the crap out of people. And then when they freak out, I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to scare you. In my character's voice, I didn't mean to scare you. I'm sorry about that. Are you okay? Like, are you all right? And they either react one of two ways. They'll laugh, or they're like, no, you fucking weirdo, go away. And then I can continue on, or it starts a conversation. And that's kind of how I do the act. And 99% of my act is conversation with stand-up, all of that, conversation with customers and working off of them with comedy, humor, insults, things like that. And then like that 0.1% is sliding to start all of the conversations.
See, I'm the complete opposite of all three of you. I, growing up, was quiet. I was shy. So it's the first thing I fucking...
That was all. That's all me. It's all me.
No, think about it. Like, what did I do? I had like
sleepover one year. We tied you down under a hockey net because you were too hyper.
Yeah, but
shut up.
And that's why I started in high school to get more shy. But so I just went for the aggressor route for Dr. Blood. Like, I just tried to be. I'm really not in high school.
I'm not good at the.
Corey's overly aggressive, I would say. I mean, you're an aggressive haunt actor, but almost to a flaw. He broke his arm one year.
My wrist,
whatever.
Speaking of a funny story about that, we had a guy that was I don't know what he was. I don't know, get into details, but he just wasn't the smartest. And we kept telling him to get more and more more and more aggressive. We had a steel drum, or a steel barrel, I guess you'd call it, in a room. No lid on it. It was a burn can in a homeless guy kind of scene. Or an alleyway, actually, going into our theater. And it's just a random, real metal barrel. Everything is real about it. So he thought he'd be cool and bang his hand on it to make noise. Well, there's no top on it. So all he did is hit his arm on the metal rail.
Shit.
Just broke his fucking arm. Just shattered it.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely amazed. I was like...
Tell me it was at least during a walkthrough that fans were like, oh, what is that?
There were customers in there, but we didn't catch who came out or anything. It was more of, what the fuck? Are you serious?
I thought I killed Corey once during a scene. It's maybe the best scare I've ever gotten in a haunted house. I don't like telling scare stories a lot, but this one's too good. Okay. Corey and I was first time in a haunted house, my first probably like month in a haunted house. Corey was Dr. Blood character, and I was like Igor, pretty much, just like, the doctor's waiting.
So it was give and take, because I was intense in your face. I'm this cannibal that's drooling blood out of his mouth, running down his face, like just nasty motherfucker. And then as soon as you walk in, when you see me, and then he comes in from behind, and he's like, well, hello! It's like, what's going on?
But
like,
Corey, the gimmick was Corey would get too aggressive, and I would turn and be like, run, like, before he gets you. Well, Corey and I were wrestling, and there was this swinging light above our heads, and Corey reared up, busted his head on the light bulb, so the light just shattered.
And there's sparks.
People shit. Like, it was the best thing ever.
And then so it's pitch black. Everybody stop for a minute. I let out my growl, and you start hearing me come down because I'm hitting the walls as I'm coming down.
People
and they
were,
just
like, falling over each other, like, trying to get out of the door and shit. Because there's only a hallway. It was the best thing I ever had happen. It was like, afterwards, it was just like, they're gone. Are you okay? Like,
And I'm like, I think I'm bleeding, but I poured blood on my head,
Yeah,
so I
they
don't know if I am or
couldn't tell.
not. Who
Some
cares?
of the best scares that I've ever had are because something broke.
accident, yeah, just accidents.
And you just play it off like, yeah, I fucking broke that wall, bitch.
But acting can be, when you're an aggressive character, to sum it up, if you're a really aggressive character, you can have a very simple storyline. Even if you're not, you can have as simple a storyline as Larry, or I don't even know if Tater has a background, but Granny is just a granny.
I don't think
Like,
Granny does. I think
yeah,
Wayne does, but I don't think
Yeah,
that,
but I'm pretty, Tater, if you have, let us know, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Granny's just a granny. Barry, very still just kind of happened on the spot.
Yeah.
You can get as creative or in depth, but if you have if your haunt is like you're walking through a theater, take some time to come up with a backstory. And like Corey was talking about Robert Englund, it's something that even I brought in. Like, if your character's on a Gatling gun, you're fighting a giant monster in an army scene at Fear Fair, you're probably not just gonna be like, dude, I'm here. You're probably gonna be like, fucking, like, fucking.
And you
going
most
nuts,
definitely
so
wouldn't just jump on your phone when the group comes through
Take
and
time to-
able to see you.
Take
the
time to
next
get
year.
your actors to think about where they're at, why they're doing what they're doing, and where
sounds
they've
like
come
something
from.
you should speak about with the casting director at Fear Fair.
So,
You know who.
but take that time. It's worth your time to teach them about character acting. And as a final thought, don't forget about your actors. They get put in the back burner a lot. Just because you have fancy props and things, take an extra week to really work with your actors and create backstories. I can promise you won't regret it.
And let them have input.
I thought you were
You're
going to
not-
say spay
you're
and
not a
neuter your
god.
pets.
And spay and neuter your pets.
And spay and neuter your actors.
If you don't like big red gum, then fuck you.
Yeah, if you're thinking about starting a haunt and or run one currently and you haven't had one of your actors impregnate one of another, congratulations, but it's going to happen.
And with
2015.
With that note, we thank you for listening to the Return of the Living podcast. Check out our sponsors, Haunt Nation Magazine and Crooked Creations. Also, check us out at Patreon. We've got it open up to donate $1 right now. We'll have more tiers open up soon with more with rewards for your donation.
Including my other car as a haunt sticker.
that
It's gonna
Corey
happen.
wants to make.
It's gonna fucking happen.
Molds of Corey's wiener at the $100 mark. I'm just kidding.
It's a very small, very, very small reward.
Probably more of a butt plug. Okay. So, anywho, check us out on Patreon. We're also going to be doing some content there. Check us out on YouTube. Yay! I remembered. We now have a YouTube channel up with in-studio footage. And come this March, we're going to make Transworld our puppy dog.
Gearing
bitch.
up.
We're gearing up for Transworld.
Drink.
You're welcome. And so check that out at YouTube. Do we have is there just search return? I don't know how the YouTube works. I never
YouTube.com/user/thelivingpod.
Oh.
Or you could just search Return of the Living.
Yeah,
Or
you
you
can.
can just go to
Do we-
returnlivingpodcast.com and I'm sure we have a link.
Do we have a link on the website yet?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, fucking A.
The newly revamped Return of the Living
Return of the
Podcast.
Living Podcast.com. Everything is there. And
And when you're on YouTube, remember to subscribe and like.
subscribe and like.
And share. Come on. If you like what you see, share us around.
You
That's
can
all we
put
ask.
us in one window, porn in the other. Thank you for listening to Return of the Living Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Jared Howe. Wait.
I wonder what would happen if you toggled the volume with us running video and then porn running.
It would probably end up like this. Fucking asshole. Prices are too high. Chainsaw.
He really showed that bitch.
Peanut butter jelly smack.
Wait, is that from the porn or from?
What was that? What's the difference between peanut butter and jelly?
I can't jelly my dick up your ass, but
Yes.
it's
What?
jam.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's different
jelly and
peanut
jam.
butter. Or yeah,
I can't peanut
jam
butter
it.
my dick up
Yeah.
your ass. Is that what it is?
God.
Thank you for listening to Return of the Living Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Jared Howe.
I'm Corker Patrick.
I'm Brad Banforth.
And I'm Larry.